All right, let's get started here. So the off season is officially here. We're gonna start to dive into that, but before we do, we're gonna wrap up our kind of end of season awards here, and we'll see. We'll talk a little bit about Robert Saleh, about the season, about Shanahan, and more after this. All right, so let's go ahead. Excuse me. Let's go ahead and start with the most recent news, which is Robert Saleh has been hired as the head coach as for the Tennessee Titans. The 49ers are obviously going to start a search for their new DC. They said in a press conference today's Thursday, yesterday, that Gus Bradley is kind of their top choice right now. I want to talk about that a little bit, but let's just start with your reaction to Saleh leaving. Are you surprised that he took the Tennessee Titan job or not?
I'm a little bit surprised because I thought Saleh would want to stick it out another year, really find himself a good opportunity. I don't think the Titans are a great opportunity. I think they're a little bit of a dysfunctional franchise. I know they have a little bit of talent. They got some guys on their D line that are talented, but they have no plan at quarterback. They seem like they just always
Cam Ward?
suck. Well, I'm not a Cam Ward supporter.
Okay.
I'm not a Cam Ward believer. So I don't know. It kind of seems like he settled a little bit, but I mean, I get it. If an head coaching opportunity that you feel good about is offered to you, I imagine that's very hard to say no to a promotion. And ultimately, I hope it works out for him because I want him to be successful and I like him. And the narrative is you really only get two chances as a head coach. So this is kind of his last chance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit surprised. I'm not going to lie. I think I predicted that he would not leave,
So did I.
and that he would stick around. It's a bummer. It hurts. We'll see who they bring in for like external candidates. I like Gus Bradley. I know you guys don't like him as much as me. I'd rather have Jim Schwartz from the Browns if that's possible, or Raheem Morris. But I still like Gus Bradley. He's got a year in the system. He's got a lot of familiarity with the players at this point. He's seen what Saleh's built and can continue it, tweak it, etc. So it's a bummer, but I think there's some pretty solid candidates out there to replace him.
I'm not anti Gus Bradley. I'm probably pretty neutral on him. I think Ryan's probably got the strongest feelings against, and you've got the strongest feelings for Chase, and I'm somewhere in the middle. It doesn't get me excited, but I also, don't hate it. Um, I was afraid Saleh was going to leave, especially after all the playoff teams fired coaches or had coaches step aside. And honestly, I think that is what factored into his decision where he might have been a little more selective. The fact that there was 10 openings this year
Yeah. Yeah.
means there's gonna be less next year. Like there just is. And who knows what's gonna happen. So you kind of got to strike while the iron's hot. I feel like it's a huge loss. There's no candidate out there that I would rather have than Robert Saleh. At least any of the names that they're talking about, right? Um, I think Schwartz would be cool I mean, is that even a real thing? Are they just saying that because they're thinking that the new coach um, may not keep him around? I don't know, but like I've heard some of the names floated, and I was like, I don't know that some of these guys are really available yet.
I
But
know it's really annoying. I see people like they should go get the defensive coordinator from the Texans. It's like the guy who's under contract as the defensive coordinator from the Texans. How are you going to hire him as the
yeah,
head coach?
right. So like it's whatever. We'll see we'll see what ends up happening there. But no, I think it's a huge loss. I really, really like Saleh. At the same time, I'm happy for him, and I kind of disagree with Chasen about the spot. I feel like it's actually a pretty good spot for him to end up in because I think there's a lot less pressure in Tennessee than maybe some other places. I mean, certainly the Jets, where he was before. Like, I don't think he's going to have that, like, you must have immediate results pressure on him. They know that they're not a good team right now, that they're rebuilding. They do have a young quarterback in place. Maybe he's not going to be good. I don't know. I'm not saying Cam Ward is the next um, Brock Purdy or anything, but anyways, I do think that he's got some promise. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I also feel like I didn't realize this, but they're getting ready to have a new stadium there in Tennessee, so that's kind of cool that there'll be a lot of excitement, in a new stadium. And I think they have a whole bunch of cap space. From what I hear, Tennessee's a pretty cool place to live and be. I haven't been there myself, but like it just seems like there's a lot of positives, and it makes sense to me why he would take it. I think the AFC South is a very winnable division. I mean, I know that like the Jags and the Texans both look good this year, but like there hasn't been any perennial like contenders. So if Saleh can put his stamp on that team and have a good defense that competes year in and year out, like I just feel like there's a lot to like about that opportunity. So I don't begrudge him that he took it. I wish he was still around, but I want him to do really well.
No, you bring up a good point that I hadn't thought about was that because there's so many openings this year, there's going to be less next year. And if you think about it, a third of the league is looking for a head coach. Someone was bound to hire him. When you just kind of say that out loud, it makes me think like, oh, yeah, of course I should have seen this coming. And I do think the Titans' job is a decent job. They are a dysfunctional franchise. Chasen's absolutely right about that. But hopefully, with the right guidance, they can get out of that. And I like Cam Ward, but he needs the same thing every quarterback. He needs a stable environment around him. And when he's throwing to a University of Tennessee legend Juwan Jennings next year, I'm sure that'll probably help. Juwan's a fan favorite out there in Tennessee. They love Juwan. I wouldn't be surprised if Robert Saleh says, "Yeah, that's the guy I'm going to bring over and start to establish some culture here."
It would
Because
be a
Cam
good
Ward's weapons are
choice.
bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It would
go
it
for
would
it.
be it would be a good culture choice because like I could see him being worth a little more to Tennessee or a place like that than maybe the Niners or others in terms of price tags. It's like bring that grit, bring that toughness, and like you said, he's already got a fan base. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think that's a
No,
great call.
that's fine. He's probably worth the most to the Niners and maybe the Titans. You guys see he hired Brian Daboll as his offensive coordinator?
No,
No,
I didn't
I
see
did
that.
not.
Yeah, I thought that
Wow.
was kind of interesting. So Kubiak's obviously not going anywhere. His choice, he went with Brian Daboll. Any thoughts there?
Was Brian Daboll? He just got fired from the Giants this year, right?
Uh,
Yeah,
He
mid-season.
was the head coach of the
yeah. I
Giants
was like, wait a
midseason.
second. It was in the middle
Yeah,
of the season. Yeah.
I was getting him confused with Sean McDermott. Man, I don't know enough about Brian Daboll, but I feel like the limited amount that I've heard is that he's a good coach. He's led some good offenses, especially this past year. Um, I mean, shoot, you get two guys with a lot of head coaching experience. Seems like that's going to be a good staff.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like Dayball's done well. He's a proven commodity. I know he didn't flamed out as a head coach, but most guys do. Let's be honest. And he's got a track record of success as an offensive coordinator in the league. So I think that's a good move by them to bring him in.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good hire. He does have a track record of success when Josh Allen is his quarterback. It's
Sure.
important to keep that in mind. He could probably make me look pretty good as an offensive coordinator. um. So okay, so let's move because this isn't the Tennessee Titan podcast. Let's talk about the Niners replacement. So Gus Bradley is kind of I think the lead dog right now, based on how Kyle and John talked about him. Kyle was asked, "Are you guys going to cast a wide net to do interviews and stuff?" And Kyle basically said, "No. Um, they're going to interview some guys internally, and they'll basically do what they have to outside the organization to satisfy the Rooney Rule, and then they'll just make Gus Bradley the defensive coordinator." That's kind of how it sounded, which to me was pretty disappointing. If you interview a bunch of candidates outside the organization and you decide that Gus is the best choice, then fine. But to just kind of satisfy the Rooney Rule and then just give it to Gus, to me feels lazy. And I think there's quality coaches out there. Like I would think Raheem Morris would probably be better. I think Jim Schwartz is definitely better. The problem with Jim Schwartz is I think Cleveland is flirting with hiring him as their head coach. But if he's not, and I've also heard that people think that the Browns want to hire a head coach who likes Jim Schwartz and wants to keep him. I think the Browns want to keep Jim Schwartz as D coordinator or head coach. But if he's available, he would be my top option, especially because he's been a problem for Shanahan in recent years. And then I don't really know too many guys outside that. Like who's Mike McDonald up in Seattle's right hand man on the defensive side of the ball? Is that a guy you could bring in to, I don't know, do some self scouting at least? Say, hey, what do you think about our offense? What would you do differently here? And at least pick his brain. I would like to see them at least explore other options. And if they stick with Gus, fine. But to just kind of interview a black guy or two because it satisfies some BS Rooney Rule and then just give it to Gus feels lazy.
Well, I listened to the interview. I didn't really interpret it that way.
What'd you think?
I thought, based on what he said, is Gus Bradley is the head runner internally, but that they were going, I'm pretty sure he said word for word, they are going to cast a wide net and they are going to do their due diligence. Now that
He
could
was
just
asked, "Are
be,
you going to cast a wide net?" And Shanahan's quote was, "I wouldn't necessarily call it a wide net."
I thought he said yes to that he said, yes, they are going to cast a wide net.
Well, he's a head coach, so he could have said no and yes, and then talked for 5 minutes and said absolutely nothing at the
Yeah,
end of his answer.
I think that's kind of what he did do. Based on Shanahan's track record, I wouldn't be surprised if in their minds Gus Bradley is already, he might have already been told that he's got
Yeah.
the job, but they just can't announce it yet. So I don't know. We'll see.
Honey.
Sorry, a dog stepped in front of me. So we'll see what they end up doing. I think it is going to be Gus, but yeah, my priority would be number 1 Schwartz, number 2 Raheem Morris, number 3 Gus Bradley. I would be happy with Gus Bradley though, like genuinely happy. I think that he would do a good job.
I
To
mean,
your
I,
to your
go
to
ahead,
your
Steven.
question, Ryan, I, I didn't watch the press conference. I don't know what he said. I would be surprised if they said we're not going to cast a wide net, just because that seems like that goes against what they always say about everything, right? Which is we're going to look into every option. We're going to pursue whatever to be more competitive. If the right if the right trade came along, we would trade me. He says all that type of stuff, right? So
Yeah.
it just seems like it would go against years of messaging, but I didn't watch it. Um, I would rather they hire Gus Bradley because they know that he's going to run the system that they want to run, that they have the personnel for, and they feel good about him because he does have a track record, as opposed to bringing in a big name that they're going to try to get to conform to their basically. I don't want a repeat of Steve Wilkes, and I'm not a
Yeah.
hater of Steve Wilkes. I just think that he got a raw deal where it was hey, you have this resume that is impressive, but we want you to do it our way, even though it's you are a leopard, but we want you to be a tiger. It just doesn't seem like that's a smart way to go. And I'm not saying that's what they're going to do. I understand that if Schwartz became an option, He runs the wide nine. There'd be a lot of similarities, so that might be a good fit. I don't know that Raheem Morris is a good fit. I know he's a super smart guy, right? I feel like I remember a thing about Raheem Morris. Is he the one that loves to blitz, or is he the one who never blitzes? I thought
I
he's the guy that blitzes all the time.
I think he is the guy that blitzes all the time.
So it's like I don't feel like the Niners have the personnel to do that right now. Maybe they could go get it, but like, I just don't want them to square peg round hole because it's a big impressive name. So if there's not a really good option that fits with, what they know they're going to do and what they have the personnel for, then they might as well go with the guy that is already going to be a part of the program.
All right, you made me do it. I pulled up the transcript from the press conference. Do you have any other internal candidates, and do you plan to cast a pretty wide net? Kyle Shanahan. I wouldn't say it's a real wide net, but I mean, Gus is the obvious one to everyone and is to us too. Gus would be the main internal candidate. We feel fortunate to get Gus and great about that, but also we're going to go through the whole process. There are requirements we have to do and stuff like that we want to do also. Hopefully we can get it settled sooner than later, but I see working through this next week on it. To me, that kind of reads like Gus is our guy. We'll satisfy that Rooney Rule thing, and then we'll just hire our defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if it wasn't Gus.
So, I don't want to be negative Nancy here, but I wouldn't be shocked if they hire Gus and he's fired next offseason. I think he's that bad.
Dang.
Okay.
Okay.
I think they're flirting with. He's not. No one's gonna. Kyle will never hire someone as bad as Nick Sorensen again. But
Whoa.
who interviewed Gus Bradley to be their defensive coordinator this season? Who interviewed him to be their defensive coordinator last season? Nobody.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think the league is telling you what they think about Gus Bradley. If you look at his defenses in Indianapolis, mid to late 20s, you saw the text I sent as far as yards per game and points per game. Listen to Colts fans, listen to Raiders fans, listen to Charger fans who had him. They scoff when they hear Gus Bradley's name brought up. When he was good, he had the Legion of Boom. The Legion of Boom is not in San Francisco. If you gave me the 11 starters for the Seahawks right now for the Niners, I bet Gus Bradley have a pretty good year next year. But that's not what we have on defense. And my prediction is if he's the guy, the defense is going to be very underwhelming next year. People are going to be frustrated, even with a healthy Bosa and Michael's back and Fred's back and these guys. I don't think he is creative as far as a blitz, as far as a coverage. I think he just kind of wants to run the same thing and rely on talent to do the heavy lifting. That's what I've heard a lot of people describe him as when he was with the Colts. He just wanted the talent to win. And one thing I liked about Saleh was when the talent wasn't there. This is why he got hired to be the Jets head coach, is because the Niners lost so much talent in 2020, but the defense still performed pretty well because Saleh is a pretty creative and a really good coach. Gus Bradley's not that. If he doesn't have the talent, his defense will struggle. And I'm worried that if they hire him, he's going to be another one and done. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's unfortunately my honest opinion and my prediction.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything to push back on you about. You're obviously more educated on it than I am. Obviously, I hope that's not the case, but yeah, I hear you. I mean, I hope that he's learned some lessons from those previous stops, and I also hope that Kyle and John and the rest of the guys in the building also learned some lessons from what they went through, and wouldn't allow for that.
I also wonder if Gus Bradley is the easy hire because if you hire somebody from outside the building like a Raheem Morris or maybe some like young up and coming guy, that guy's going to want to bring his own DB coach, his linebacker coach, his D-line coach, and the Niners have their guys. Johnny Holland's been there forever. Chris Kasarek's been there forever. Like, these are their guys, and they would rather find somebody who likes their guys and wants to work with their guys and kind of run their scheme and not have to fire an entire staff and bring in a whole new staff and just replace the defensive coordinator essentially without replacing all the position coach. Which, again, if that's the best option for the team, fine. But maybe it's not. They haven't won a Super Bowl and they're going on 10 years. Maybe they need to switch some things up and try something a little different. Who knows? All right, let's talk about Kyle Shanahan. He's nominated for Coach of the Year. You know what? I should pull up the the other awards. I mean, you know who they are: the Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson, Kyle Shanahan. Whatever. I'm not even gonna pull it up. Do you think Kyle should win? Try to be unbiased. If you honestly think you do, tell me why. And do you think the 2025 was Kyle Shanahan's best coach season, even though they didn't have the postseason success that they've had in the past?
I'll go first, and I'll say no. Mike Vrabel should win. What he's done with New England, just like turn that franchise around, and with the talent, I don't even know a lot of the players. I probably should, because I'm sure they've got some talented players, or else they wouldn't be this good right now. But I
They
just think
went big spending in free agency.
yeah, and obviously that's worked out. And Drake May has been a stud, which has been a big help. So, no, Mike Vrabel should be. I think Shanahan should be top 3 for sure. Was this his best coach season? I'll let Steven answer that part of the question.
I'm going to answer a lot, so you can still give your take if you want.
Well, I have
We'll
to
come
think
back to
about it
Jason.
more. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I can't completely remove my bias, so I just want to be honest about it. Because I just think the way that I think, and that is, as a Niner fan and a guy who likes Kyle Shanahan. But I absolutely think he should win Coach of the Year. I think it is far more impressive that he did what he did. I think that the Patriots already had a pretty decent roster and definitely had a good defense. I really like Vrabel. I'm glad he's having success there. I don't particularly love the Patriots as a franchise, but I don't dislike them, as much as I used to either, right? So, like, I'm happy for him. I think it's cool that, like, former player comes back, does well, like, good. He's doing good. Ben Johnson, also great. Like, he's had a great season, but I don't feel like I feel like they were already up and coming. I feel like both of those teams were already on the rise. These guys came in and they kind of put them over the top. The Niners are coming off of the 6-11 season where they just had all these people leave. Everybody was talking about before the season, oh my gosh, are they going to sign anybody? It's just a mass exodus. So all this talent leaves, and it's all these unproven young guys that are going to have to come in. Yeah, there's still some vets on the offense that they were going to rely on. We knew that all along. But I mean, what was everybody talking about before the season? Oh, there's no offensive line. It's going to be terrible. Offensive line actually turned out pretty good. Oh my gosh, we don't have any weapons. We still scored a ton of points and had a lot of success on offense. Like, the offense is what carried them. The defense was not great, but man, they were good enough to be competitive. And I think that all rolls up to Kyle and the culture he created. I do want to give Saleh a bunch of credit, but I think that this is why you stick with a coach for a long period of time, because they have a chance to put their imprint on the team. And I absolutely think, like, I got exactly what I wanted out of this season with the young guys coming in and being frisky and showing fight and all that stuff. And I think it's because of Kyle Shanahan that we have that culture. I think it's long overdue that he get recognized as Coach of the Year. And I don't, when you say, is this his best coaching job? I don't know if you want, like, best. It's hard to say, but I definitely am the most impressed by this coaching job. So maybe that means it is the best, but they had their backup quarterback start half the games. They lost their best defensive player real early in the season, and then their next best defensive player, or if you want to put him in either order, They missed both of their leaders on defense, best players, for more than half the season, and those are both team captains. So like, I feel like yeah, the players get credit for being the ones that are out there battling. Yeah, the other coaches and everything, they prepared them. But it all starts with Kyle. I mean, we've talked about that before. The buck stops with him. So I feel like the credit should roll up to him too because he's created this environment where they could thrive and he's got a team of scrappy dudes that didn't give up despite all the adversity. So yeah, I absolutely think that what he did was a higher degree of difficulty than what any other coach did this year. I think we just talked on the last episode about how they're like one of the leading teams in dead cap and paying guys that aren't there. So that's a huge disadvantage right off the bat. And they still had this success. And we know about the injuries. That goes without saying. So, like, I just feel like almost any other coach in the league with this team and these circumstances are not going 12-5, are not battling for the 1 seed in the last week of the season. Like, I'm not saying nobody else can do it. I'm saying it's a very, very short list, and I am sure glad that Kyle Shanahan is our coach and was able to do it and show everybody that, and I think he deserves Coach of the Year for that.
I I think he deserved Coach of the Year in 2022 when Trey Lance went down and then Jimmy went down and then Brock came in and they were still like one of the best teams in the NFL. I think you can make the same case this year when you lose Brock, George, and Bosa within like the first, Brock and George week 1, Bosa week 3, maybe, and then Fred week 6. And to have the team be as competitive and to get wins over teams like the Rams and the Seahawks, who are obviously really good, the Bears, playoff teams. They also did beat a lot of scrubs, but that's kind of what you're supposed to do when you're a good team. But the Niners were a good team because of how well coached they were, not because they were out-talenting teams like they were in 2023, where it was like, that was when it's like, well, Brock Purdy's only good because he's got the Avengers. It's like, we look at the team, like he does have the Avengers on both sides of the ball. I think Kyle did a great job that year too, by blowing teams out. You have the better team, you should be blowing teams out. I pretty much agree with everything you said, Steven. I'm really happy to have Kyle Shanahan as a coach. He's really good. He's also polarizing because he's not perfect, and he does have some glaring holes, which kind of makes him really interesting as well. That being said, I think I have to agree with Chasen. I think Vrabel is going to get it because the Patriots were awful last year. And you kind of have a little bit of a Mike Singletary, Jim Harbaugh thing here where Jim Harbaugh kind of took basically Mike Singletary's roster and went like 11-5 and went to the playoffs the next year, 10-6 maybe, whatever it was in that first year in 2011. Vrabel, they spent a lot of money in free agency and brought in some new guys, but essentially took a lot of the same guys, and they're in the AFC Championship now. So my guess is Vrabel's going to get it. The other guy was Liam Cohen and Mike McDonald, actually. If you looked at the Vegas odds coming into the season, the Niners and the Rams were the favorites to win the division. It turns out that, you were wrong there. Obviously, the Seahawks ended up getting it done, and they look like one of the most well-balanced and dominant teams in the league. So he would certainly have a deserving case. Usually, you have to have 5 guys nominated, and usually there's 2 or 3 that you're like, why are you guys here? But you look at Liam Cohen, Ben Johnson, Mike McDonald, Kyle Shanahan, Mike Vrabel, you could make a really good case for all those guys. I mean, to see what Liam Cohen did with the Jaguars, to see what Ben Johnson did with a Bears team who hasn't been in the playoffs in God who knows how long, since Rex Grossman was quarterback. I don't think Kyle's going to get it. I think he deserves it. I don't think he's going to get it, though. But like you said, Steven, I'm super happy to have Kyle, so.
It's funny because Coach of the Year, like if you go back and look at the track record of who's won it, it doesn't mean a whole lot. And like isn't Kevin?
It means basically nothing, actually.
It's like you were the coach. Like they should almost rename it to coach whose team overachieved the most above expectations or something. Like that's.
I mean, 2-time Coach of the Year award winner just got fired, Kevin Stefanski.
Right, exactly. And so, I mean, I hear you. Like, I don't think Vrabel is an undeserving candidate. Like, if he wins, I understand why. Just like, I mean, the only one that I would feel a little bit like, oh, come on, are you serious? Would be Liam Cohen, because I don't think like they had that great of a year, and I do think they had a really talented roster, and they've had a talented roster, and they've just been kind of mismanaged. But like, I I personally think Mike McDonald is a better coach and is more impressive than Ben Johnson. I also think the Bears are really kind of lucky this year. Like everybody's talking about, oh man, they're going to be a problem. They're going to, coming up, like this is the team. This is going to be competing for NFC championships for the next few years. And it's like, I won't be surprised if the Bears are around 500 or even sub 500 next year because we just saw
Are
this
they the
happen.
Commanders?
I think they're the
Where they catch
Vikings.
lightning in a bottle, and for 1 year, and then the next year they're just awful.
I think they're the Vikings of like a couple of years ago when they like won 14 games and like were
Last
winning
year, that was last year with
all
Darnold.
yeah, all these one score games and everything. Like, but I mean, I could be wrong. I'm just saying, like, the Bears, I think the Vikings and the Packers and the Lions are all going to be competitive again next year. It's a tough division.
Ooh,
Just don't,
I disagree.
just, you don't think so? You don't think it's a tough division?
Only with the Vikings. I don't think the Vikings are good. They have no quarterback.
Well,
And they're
that's
going to
true. But
trade Justin Jefferson to the Niners, so they're not going to have any superstars.
if they if they get rid of Brian Flores for some reason, then maybe. But I feel like the Vikings are always well coached. I expect them to always be competitive with that staff that they have. But you're right on the quarterback. Anyways, doesn't matter. Don't need to spend too much time on the Vikings. I'm just saying that like I feel like there was a lot of luck involved in the Bears season, and I don't think you should be rewarding luck, although Ben Johnson is a good coach, did a good job. I feel like it really comes down to Vrabel, Shanahan, and McDonald for me. And yeah, I told you I can't remove my bias. I feel like I want it to be Shanahan, so I'm trying to manifest that.
I mean, you win 7 games. You set an NFL record for most games won in a season when you were down in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes or less remaining. Yeah, there's some luck involved. All right, let's keep this thing moving because I don't want to be on here all night. What was your
Real
favorite
quick,
moment from the 2025? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say my phone, I didn't realize is like dying. It gave me the less than 10% thing,
Oh,
like a good 10 minutes ago. So I'm about to drop probably any second. Are you guys good to either close out the episode solo or just the two of you, or do you guys want to do like a part two maybe tomorrow or anything like that?
How close are you to home?
I'm downtown right now. This is the local ice cream shop, so not.
yeah.
Um,
Let's just close it here.
can I give you guys my trivia question real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I saw a graphic the other day that showed all the teams that have competed for the NFC Championship over the last
Oh,
20
yeah.
years. So Ryan, you already know
Yeah.
the answer to this? Okay.
Well, I don't
Well,
know your
Chase,
question, but I saw that graph, and I just saw the Niners logo so many times and not one ring to
so
show for it.
so there's only one team in the NFC that has
Oh,
not been
yeah.
to the NFC Championship game in the last 20 years. Every other team has made it. Do you want to guess who that one team is?
I
Ryan,
know who
don't
that
guess
team is.
because
Go
he
ahead
Uh,
and
knows.
guess, Jason.
So,
you said last 20 years?
last 20 years.
Hell, that's 30.
Well, I don't know if you go back
Um,
that far, I don't know. But the last 20 years for sure, there
29 years.
every team in the NFC has been to the NFC Championship game except for one. So that means the
oh,
Cardinals, that means the Panthers.
the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I was
Just don't say that to
thinking,
a Cowboy fan.
my initial thought was the Cardinals, but I remember the Cardinals were good when they were competing. Didn't they go to the Super Bowl against the Steelers?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
They lost in the Super Bowl against the
They
Steelers.
yeah.
I also completely forgot they were in the NFC Championship game the year that the Panthers went to the Super Bowl. the Panthers beat the
Oh,
Cardinals to get to the Super Bowl and
Mhm.
play the Broncos.
who
Um,
was the
but
Cardinals
Ryan,
quarterback?
that year, I think
Yeah.
that year it might have
Was it
been like
Carson Palmer?
it might have been an old Carson Palmer, like his last rodeo.
Yeah. Yeah.
The year that they went to
Wow.
the Super Bowl, it was Kurt Warner. I know that.
Mhm.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but to Ryan's point, the Niners logo was on there a lot, and they are the team that's been the most in the last 20 years. So it is unfortunate that they don't have a title to show for it, but they're in first place with
Extremely.
7 appearances. And the team that's in second place with 6 appearances only has 1 title to show for
Seahawks.
it. Nope.
Seahawks. Oh.
Nope.
No, it's not the
The
Eagles because they have 2.
um it's not the Rams.
The Rams?
Nope.
Um
Oh, the Packers.
Packers. Yep. The Packers are in second
oh.
place with 6 appearances, but only 1 Super Bowl championship.
Thanks a lot,
Yeah.
A-Rod.
Yeah,
All right,
so
well, let's go ahead and end it there, and then I still want to do the end of the season like awards thing. We'll do
yep,
that maybe tomorrow.
that sounds
Okay.
good.
All right,
All right.
see you guys.
Later, guys.
See you fellas.